China Railway Group Limited lost 95.5 billion yuan in just half a year. Can you believe that? This is no joke. According to the business report released by China Railway Group Limited in 2020, they lost 95.5 billion yuan in just the first half of 2020. For context, the market value of China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation in 2020 was also only 95.5 billion yuan. That means China Railway lost the equivalent of an entire China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation in just half a year, which is truly astonishing. As the most populous major country in the world, with a population of 1.4 billion, the number of people taking the train every day is enormous. And during the Spring Festival travel rush, it becomes the largest human migration in the world. So why do high-speed railways still suffer such heavy losses? And why does China continue to relentlessly develop high-speed rail, even when it loses the equivalent of a China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation in just half a year? If you're new here, remember to click follow. It makes it easier to browse previous content and watch the latest video updates. According to the railway network plan from the National Long-Term Machine Network, by 2035, China will have built a railway network with a total length of 200,000 kilometers. Of this, the total length of high-speed rail will reach 70,000 kilometers, and the overall framework will expand from the current 4 vertical and 4 horizontal lines to 8 vertical and 8 horizontal lines, basically achieving internal and external connectivity and smooth interregional transportation. As of now, the total mileage of China's railways is already close to 40,000 kilometers, but among the many routes, only 6 lines, including the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed railway, are actually profitable. So, where do the high-speed rail losses come from? First of all, is the construction cost of high-speed rail. Since 1978, after China saw Japan's Shinkansen, the idea of building high-speed rail in China began to take shape. Later, at the first China High-Speed Railway Technology Development Strategy Conference held in Xiangshan, Beijing, after careful consideration, the chief engineer of the Ministry of Railways, Shen Zhijie, submitted the proposal for China's first high-speed rail line, the Beijing-Shanghai High-Speed Railway. The initial plan for the construction had a budget of 52.3 billion. After discussion by the Ministry of Railways, the budget was raised to 130 billion. Finally, after considering other factors, the budget was finalized at 220.9 billion. It became the second largest domestic investment project at the time, second only to the Three Gorges project. Specifically, when the high-speed rail reached a speed of 250 km per hour, the construction cost per kilometer was 87 million yuan. When the speed increased to 350 km per hour, the cost per kilometer rose to 129 million yuan. That means that for every kilometer, it was equivalent to achieving one of Wang Jianlin's small goals. With China's current high-speed rail network approaching 40,000 kilometers, the total construction cost is truly astronomical. However, the speed at which high-speed rail recoups its investment is relatively slow. Take the busiest and most profitable Beijing-Shanghai high-speed rail as an example. The journey from Beijing to Shanghai takes 5 hours, with an average occupancy rate of nearly 80%. On this basis, the profit for each high-speed train trip is roughly between 280,000 and 330,000 yuan. But what about other high-speed rail lines? Can they also achieve an 80% occupancy rate? So, in terms of investment and revenue, the construction of high-speed rail has always been operating at a loss, essentially subsidizing its operation. Moreover, after construction, the operation of high-speed rail also involves astronomical costs. To keep high-speed trains running, they require electricity as their driving force. According to relevant data, a high-speed train traveling at 350 km per hour consumes about 960 kilowatt-hours of electricity per hour. If we go by the current industrial electricity rate in China, which is 1 yuan per kilowatt-hour, then for every kilometer a high-speed train travels, it costs nearly 1,000 yuan in electricity alone. And with so many high-speed trains across the country, how much is spent on electricity altogether? Sorry, I really can't calculate that. Besides the basic expenses, enormous funds are also needed to cover the manpower costs and other aspects of high-speed rail maintenance in the long run. Therefore, it's not surprising that high-speed rail has become a major source of losses. As of now, the total losses from high-speed rail have already exceeded 4 trillion yuan. In fact, the more high-speed rail lines are built, the greater the losses for China Railway Group Limited. But even though the losses keep increasing year after year, why does China continue to vigorously build high-speed rail? First of all, high-speed rail is not built by private enterprises, but is led by the state. For the transportation infrastructure that is constructed, profitability is not the primary concern. Rather, the pros and cons of high-speed rail are analyzed from the overall national perspective. Moreover, the losses from high-speed rail are not unique to China. Out of all the countries in the world, only 23 have high-speed rail, and in Asia, there are just 3 countries with high-speed rail. These are China, Japan, and South Korea, and almost all countries with high-speed rail are basically operating at a loss. Although high-speed rail is unprofitable in terms of revenue, it brings many other benefits in different areas. First of all, the construction of high-speed rail can significantly boost the economic development of cities along the route and increase the GDP growth of those cities. The fundamental reason is the improvement in social efficiency. For example, before the construction of China's first high-speed rail line, the Beijing-Shanghai line, it took about 14 hours to travel by train from Beijing to Shanghai. However, after the high-speed rail was completed, now it only takes 4 to 5 hours to get there. If we compare high-speed rail with airplanes, the flight time from Beijing to Shanghai is about 2 to 3 hours. But when you add the time spent traveling to and from the airport and waiting before boarding, the total time spent is almost the same as taking the high-speed rail. And this increase in efficiency means that more passengers can be transported in the same amount of time, while passengers themselves are able to accomplish more with the extra time they have. According to relevant data, every 100 million yuan invested in high-speed rail can boost the GDP of cities along the route by 180 million yuan. The initial construction cost of the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed rail was over 200 billion yuan. However, with the completion of the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed rail, it helped drive more than 400 billion yuan in growth for the surrounding cities. Secondly, as a high-tech industry, high-speed rail involves multiple sectors, such as advanced materials, information technology, machinery, metallurgy, construction, and synthetic materials. According to incomplete statistics, there are 141 core enterprises in China specializing in the production and design of EMU, electric multiple unit components. These enterprises span more than 20 provinces and cities, and with the construction of high-speed rail, the related industries have also experienced rapid development. According to the conservative estimate of Yang Zhongmin, director of the Development Planning Department of the Ministry of Railways, the related industries intersecting with high-speed rail driven by the high-speed rail sector can form an industrial chain worth as much as 1 trillion yuan. High-speed rail has also stimulated the vigorous development of many more industries in our country. Thirdly, in terms of employment, the operation of high-speed rail has created a large number of jobs. During the construction of the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed rail, 110,000 jobs were provided, and in 2017 alone, China built 2,000 kilometers of high-speed rail, which also created employment opportunities for as many as 5.65 million people. The fourth point is from the perspective of environmental protection. High-speed rail mainly relies on electricity for operation, which frees the railway from heavy dependence on oil. The reduction in oil usage also lessens environmental pollution. Taking these 4 points into consideration, it is clear that although China Railway Group Limited is currently operating at a loss year after year, but as a state-owned enterprise, it tends to approach issues from a broader national perspective. High-speed rail is not just a simple means of transportation. More importantly, it serves as a major artery that stimulates the country's economic development. When China is able to build an extensive and well-connected high-speed rail network, the overall operational efficiency of the nation will increase rapidly. With the support of high-speed rail, China's economy is bound to develop even faster. Alright, that's the end of this video. If you have any different opinions, feel free to leave a comment and join the discussion. See you next time.